What do you say when a cop hands back your license, smiles, and says, "Sit tight for a minute"? If you say okay and keep chatting, you might turn a finished traffic stop into a whole new investigation. And that extra minute can lead to a dog sniff, a vehicle search, or handcuffs. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you could save you from saying the one thing that gives your rights away. Like this video now so you can find it fast when you actually need it on a real roadside. Most people have no idea that "sit tight for a minute" is often the most dangerous sentence in the whole stop. It sounds friendly, it sounds small, it sounds like nothing. But that little pause is where officers often try to shift from writing a ticket to fishing for more. In this video, you're going to learn the first sentence you should say back, the second line that shuts down consent searches, the mistake that makes your silence useless, and the one response that keeps you compliant without helping build a case against you. Let me show you exactly how smart drivers keep control without acting rude, loud, or stupid. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos and the same pattern keeps showing up. The stop should be ending, but instead it stretches. Then the questions change, then the search request comes, then people talk themselves into trouble. If you know the script before that moment happens, you give yourself a real chance to leave safely. Here's the reality. A traffic stop has a job. The officer checks your license, registration, insurance, and the reason for the stop. That's the mission. Once that mission is done, the stop is supposed to end unless the officer has new facts pointing to a crime. But you and I both know that's not how it feels on the side of the road. You feel pressure. You feel nervous. You want to seem nice. So you keep answering questions. You keep sitting there. You keep trying to talk your way out of tension. Listen closely because this is critical. Your politeness can be used against you if it turns a forced stop into a voluntary chat. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. The officer does not always have to tell you the stop is over. That means you need to force clarity with your own mouth. If you don't, your stop can slide from traffic issue to criminal probe before you even realize it happened. The first thing you say is simple, calm, and sharp. You look at the officer and say this: "Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Those exact words. Memorize that line. Say it in a normal voice. Don't add attitude. Don't add a speech. Don't ask it like a challenge. Ask it like you're asking for the time. That one question does something powerful. It makes the officer choose. Either you're still legally being held or you're free to go. If you're free to go, leave. If you're being detained, now the officer owns that choice and may need a real reason for it. Here's why this works. A lot of roadside trouble happens in the gray area. Not under arrest, not free to go, just stuck there talking. That gray area is where people consent, ramble, guess, and panic. Your question kills the gray area. It pulls the stop into the light. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it helps show whether the stop was still lawful or just being stretched. In Rodriguez v. United States, the Supreme Court said police can't extend a completed traffic stop just to go looking for other crimes, unless they have separate facts pointing that way. In plain English, they don't get free bonus time. That matters for you because "sit tight for a minute" is often the bridge to bonus time. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. In Ohio v. Robinette, the Supreme Court said officers do not have to tell you that you're free to go before they ask more questions or ask for consent. Read that again in plain English. They don't have to volunteer the truth. So you ask for it. You make them answer. That is why this first line matters so much. Watch what happens when you say nothing. The officer says, "Mind if I ask you a few questions?" You nod. Then it becomes, "Where are you coming from? Any weapons? Any drugs? Mind if I take a look?" All of that can happen in under 60 seconds. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Yeah, sure," or "No problem, officer." Then the stop keeps rolling and the officer gets more time to build suspicion. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Then the officer has to define the encounter before you give away more. This is 100% legal. You are not resisting. You're not being disrespectful. You're asking a clean question about your status. If the officer says you're free to go, go. Don't hang around to be friendly. Don't restart the conversation. Don't ask if everything is okay. Just leave. If the officer says you are being detained, then stop talking and move to the next tactic. That question by itself will not magically end every stop, but it will expose whether the stop is over or whether the officer is trying to keep you there longer. And that difference can decide your whole night. Have you ever had an officer say something like this after giving back your license? Drop a comment below and tell me what happened, because this is the exact moment most drivers miss. Now let's talk about the second line, because if the stop keeps going, a search request is usually next. You need a sentence so simple that you can say it under stress. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word, that's your shield. Use it every single time. Don't explain, don't joke, don't say, I guess if you have to. Don't say, "I have nothing to hide." Those are gifts. Your job is not to sound innocent. Your job is to protect your rights. Let me show you exactly why this matters. If you give consent, you make the officer's job easy. They don't need a warrant. They don't need to argue as much later. They will say you agreed. And once a search starts, you do not control what gets found, what gets damaged, what gets misunderstood, or what somebody else may have left in your car weeks ago. In Schneckloth v. Bustamante, the Supreme Court said a consent search can be valid even if the person did not know they had the right to refuse. Aye, plain English again. The court does not save you just because you didn't understand the trap. That is why your words matter so much at the scene. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the whole tone of the stop. A clear refusal forces the officer to switch from easy search mode to find real legal grounds mode. And that is much harder. Maybe they still search. Maybe they claim they smell something. Maybe they call a dog. But your refusal still matters because it keeps you from handing them a shortcut. It can matter later in court. It can matter in a suppression hearing. It can matter in the body cam video. Watch what happens when drivers try to be cute. They say, well, I don't care, but I'd rather you didn't. That sounds weak. That sounds uncertain. That gets framed as consent. Bad way. Most drivers say, I don't have anything, so go ahead. Then a full search starts and every problem in that car becomes your problem. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then the officer has to decide whether there is real legal cause without your permission. This is 100% legal. Refusing consent is not probable cause. It is not a crime. It is not suspicious by itself. It is you using a right that belongs to you. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection because so many roadside searches start with nothing more than nervous, polite permission. And here's something you need burned into your memory. Do not physically block the search. Do not pull away. Do not argue with the officer's hands. Say your line clearly. Repeat it if needed. Then stay still. If they search anyway, let your lawyer fight that later. Your mouth can help you. Your hands can hurt you. The third tactic is where a lot of people mess up because they think being half silent is enough. It's not. If the officer starts asking where you were, what you were doing, who the car belongs to, why you look nervous, or whether there's anything illegal inside, you need a clean verbal stop sign. You say this. I choose to remain silent. If the questioning keeps going, add this. I do not answer questions without a lawyer. Keep it short. Keep it calm. Keep it boring. Here's the reality. You may think, I'll just stay quiet. But awkward silence is not always the same as clearly using your rights. In Salinas v. Texas, the Supreme Court basically said that outside some custody settings, simply going quiet can still create trouble if you never clearly invoke the right. Plain English. If you want the protection, say it out loud. Use the words. Berkmer v. McCarty also matters here because the court said normal traffic stop questioning usually happens before Miranda warnings are required. That means you should never wait for an officer to read you rights before you protect yourself. That TV moment may never come on the roadside. This line works because it stops you from doing the dumb thing nervous people always do. They over-explain. They fill silence. They guess. They lie badly. They talk in circles. And every extra word becomes evidence, even if the officer never finds a thing. One wrong date. One wrong address. One odd story about where you were coming from. Suddenly the officer says you were evasive, inconsistent, or deceptive. You don't win awards for chatting under pressure. You win by giving the required documents and shutting up. Bad way. Most drivers say, I was just coming from my friend's house. Well, actually the store. Well, kind of both. Good way. Smart drivers say, I choose to remain silent. I do not answer questions without a lawyer. Then the officer gets far less material to use against them. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings and real defense practice. You do not have to help prove a case against yourself. That does not mean you refuse everything. If you're the driver, you still provide your license, registration, and insurance. In some places, you may have to identify yourself. That's different from answering phishing questions. Your paperwork is one thing, your mouth is another. When people mix those up, they get hurt. And no, this does not make you look guilty. Plenty of innocent people get charged because they talk too much under stress. The roadside is not the place to clear up every misunderstanding. It's the place to survive the contact and protect your future. 90% of drivers don't know what's coming next. Stay with me because this next move is what saves you. Now let's cover the fourth tactic, because some of you are already thinking about orders. If the officer tells you to step out, move to the curb, or stay by the hood, do not confuse compliance with consent. They are not the same thing. Here's exactly what you say. I will comply, but I do not consent. That line is gold when an officer gives a command. Pennsylvania v. Mims says police can usually order a driver out of the car during a lawful stop. Arizona v. Johnson says passengers are also seized during a stop and can be frisked if armed. If they lawfully order you out, you get out. If they tell you where to stand, you stand there. but you do not need to dress that obedience up as agreement. That is where your line matters. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will comply, but I do not consent. They obey while keeping the legal position clear. That line protects you in two ways. First, it lowers risk in the moment by not escalating. Second, it protects the record later if the officer claims you agreed to something. Body cam audio matters. Dash cam audio matters. Your calm words matter. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the drivers who do best are the clearest people. Never reach fast, move slow. Your script only works if your body language is safe. Rodriguez v. United States says the officer cannot drag out a traffic stop beyond its normal job. See the difference? In the right version, you forced clarity and refused consent while staying physically calm. Next video, I'm revealing what to say when cops claim they smell weed. Subscribe right now. Smash like if this script just gave you words you didn't have before. Stay safe out there.